Welcome into Board Talk. I'm here with one of my good friends in the Web3 space, Mr. Anaroth himself. Anaroth, how are you this evening?
Yo, what's good, man? I've been looking forward to this all day. I know we've already talked a little bit before, but I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I know we had gone back and forth, and I'm excited to talk about all things Anaroth, all things Nouns DAO and Atrium and everything in between, because I know you guys have been cooking up a bunch of stuff, and we had talked a while ago, and I think this is the perfect time with all the excitement in front of you guys with the Nouns movie that we can kind of dig in there and learn a little bit more about you, Atrium, and what you guys have going. So first off, Anaroth, how did you make your way into the crypto and maybe more specifically the NFT space? Is this something that is a new hobby or a new passion, new job that you just stumbled into, or is this something that you've kind of been around for a while?
I feel like I just assume like everything's connected now as I read like a creative act, like Rick Rubin's book. He talks about like source material and everything, right?
Yeah.
But when I lived in New York, so this is probably like 8 years ago, I remember my boss was talking about Bitcoin. I think it was like $6,000 back then. And I felt like super sketched out. Like I remember like downloading a crypto account. Like I might have gotten a wallet. I don't really remember. And I'm like, this feels weird. And I'm like, and then I've always been like aware of it, but I was always just more of a stock guy. Not even options, just like I enjoyed doing research on a company. For me, number go up. Like, okay, like whatever. Like I'm gonna go with that. But I would say around pandemic time, I wasn't really happy at work around what I was doing. I was on Twitter a lot. And then my job and crypto just kind of coincided. And I had started exploring some NFT things. I remember talking a little bit back and forth with C0, the founder of Atrium.
Yeah.
And he had this little thing saying, I'm hiring in his Twitter bio. And I'm like, let's talk. And I didn't like, it's one of those things where you don't expect it to turn in to something that goes to a yes.
Right.
Right. You just explore and kind of see what happens. And that outreach turned into like a rabbit hole of a future that I just see completely differently now. Like people ask about like, well, what did you do before? I'm like, I don't really care about what I did before.
Right.
Like the world that I see is available to me for whatever I want to do in the future is so different from what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I would say it's probably like, I don't want to assume, but for you, like imagine your life pre-Bored Ape and post-Bored Ape.
100%, dude. Yes.
And what you see as a possibility is just different. Like the previous you couldn't have even comprehended that was a possibility.
Correct.
And that's kind of how I feel about crypto, is I know it has all these negative narratives, but for me, it's all about possibility. And I love that I've found something that makes me feel like I can do more than I thought. And I think that's a really good connotation. And that's why I think what I've gravitated towards in this space is any community that encourages action. And I think the longer that I'm here, it's not even so much about the community. I think every community has some of those people. I think you're one of those people.
Thank you.
And it's just being able to know what you're looking for, finding them, and then putting effort into connection. And that's what the last 2 years and like what I hope I'm known for in the next few years. Hopefully by then Atrium has like 7 movies. Like we're chilling. I'm at an animation festival. Like, yeah, we'll manifest all that.
Right.
But like, who am I now? How did I get into crypto? Maybe it was just the right time. Like, just because it was a possibility, let's say 8 years ago. And yes, that would have been phenomenal had I made a choice to do so. Maybe I wasn't ready then. Maybe that wasn't the right time. And now I feel pretty prepared to be doing things I never thought possible.
Yeah.
Right. Like I go to my friend's house and he's like, what did you do this week? Like, well, I was on a podcast and I have another one scheduled. He's like, wait, what? Like, yeah.
That's
kind
where
of
I'm
weird to
at.
say out
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird to say out loud.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would be doing those things. So
Right.
for me, like, how did I get into crypto? A little bit of luck, mostly curiosity.
Sure.
I think that's ultimately just like I'm a curious person. I like trying to figure out how things work, and I think more like how things are connected, just as like a personality trait, like how things fit together, is really intriguing to me.
No,
So
I think everything you said is why those of us that will be here in 2, 5 years, 10 years are here now, because it really is about connections. It's about community building. I know that may be cliche, but I've seen it firsthand, and it really did draw me in. And the creative outlet too. You touched on that. I'm a creative person myself. I'm a musician, a songwriter, and when I first started dabbling into NFTs, it was through Top Shop, but quickly thereafter. I started just exploring small artist driven NFT projects. And it was because people could be creative. They could make art that they actually wanted to make on their own schedule, on their own time, and they could make an actual potential living from it. And that was enlightening to me as a creative person myself. I thought, why isn't this normal? Right? Like, why isn't it normal that someone creating something can actually, survive and not have to, be a waiter or be a cycle instructor on Peloton, right? Like, they can actually focus directly on what they want to do in their creative outlet and take their time doing it. I think that's, like, honestly, it's been an enlightening thing for me over the last 2 years myself.
yeah, I mean, that's that whole possibility
Yeah,
aspect,
exactly.
right? And it doesn't mean that it works for everyone, but
Sure.
having people feel that they have an actual chance at taking a shot at it is very different than there's no way I could ever make that happen.
Right.
Like, just because the outcome in both cases could still be a no, the fact that you can inspire or create a situation where people want to try is a giant leap forward in those things. And that's kind of what I hope Atrium does in kind of like a couple different fronts. And what I mean by that is there's the artist perspective, and then there's like the commissioner perspective. So like I think about Steve, who's making Neon Garden, like the anime thing,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And if you asked him like 6 months ago, would you be creating an anime that you legitimately think you could pitch to a streaming service? Laughable. Like, nope,
Right. Right.
not. And in literally just 6 months, you have 2 minutes, you have a third episode on the way, you're getting really close to an official clip reel. And ultimately, what he's created is a personal artifact that he will be able to look back on this time and say, like, I made that. I created that. And there's not that many of those things that exist.
Right.
What happens when more people recognize the personal value of what that means? Right? Let's say you
Yeah.
have 15 bored apes,
Right.
right? At what point does one custom thing mean more to you in value than one of those bored apes? Something that you cherish and you will pass down and is officially like a relic of culture forever.
Hmm.
And those are the things that I think some people have taken some time to create on their own, and others are starting to see the value. And what I hope happens is, as we've had some of these early pioneers, now people know there's a place where they can go. And I don't mean that in like the salesy way of like, come to Atrium, buy your
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like, where would you go before Atrium?
Right.
If you wanted to make an anime, like really, like what's step one? Do you know an animation studio?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they in this country?
Yeah.
Are they going to take a meeting with you? Do they accept crypto payment? Like,
Right.
what? And even after we started, there isn't really a competitor. And again, I don't mean that as a bad way. I
No.
mean
Right.
it as like, that also kind of shows you that you're onto something, right? That it's hard for someone else to duplicate what you've created. And I think that's the other piece, is like, once people recognize that it's hard to duplicate, they want to join.
Right.
And what happens when the people that Zend out and HKJ, who worked at Sony and Marvel and Disney, and all of their peers in the networks are like, wait, what have you been doing? Oh, we've made our own movie. Wait,
Yeah.
what? You mean
Yeah.
like you're working on a movie? No, we're the creative directors. Like we got our opportunity to do something ourselves that we've always wanted.
Right.
That's the creator part, right? Like how do you inspire more people to recognize the possibility of coming over here? And that's part of the opportunity that I think like ApeCoin or Nouns or DAOs as a whole have in this like public good mentality is you're not just providing content or creating opportunities for people to view and consume. You're showing a whole different working economic system for the people that have created culture for the past 20 years. And if you can get them to create for you instead of where they have, crazy things start to happen.
Yes, the best things I think happen because you feel, I don't know, like unchained, right? Like, isn't that part of what Web3, the space as a whole, should and is, that you have less shackles, if you will? Your creative spirit can kind of flourish and fly in the right, space. Obviously, you can't just, I mean, I guess you could just let it fly, but I think what you're saying there with the DAO, and I'll even say with Atrium specifically, is like you can bring people in and let them, kind of do their thing and shine, which I think is, I don't know, that's wonderful to me because, again, like you said, dude, this has never been a reality. Like thinking, I'm talking all creatives, any creative that's in Web3 space doesn't mean that you've made it yet. And maybe you won't, like you said, but the idea that you actually have a legitimate shot on goal and not some like 1 mile long shot that, it's 1 in a billion. You have a legitimate shot and then you see where the chips lie like that. I don't know. That's mind blowing. And I think what we'll see is the continued growth of creativity in the space. Because you're going to see people, you're like you said, you're going to go and say, hey, we made this. We've done this, and that, and the other. Wait, really? Oh, shit. Like I've been working for so-and-so and I don't have any of that outlet. I'm working on this bullshit project I don't even care about. Well, come to Atrium, come build some cool shit. Like, isn't that kind of like, that's almost the pitch of Web3 is like, come build like shit that you dreamed about.
Build what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Build exactly what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to create your opportunity.
Yeah.
And manifest it into what you know it can be.
Right.
But a lot of people have that dream. They don't know how to execute it.
Sure.
And let's be honest, crypto is not the most welcoming and trustworthy place.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing which Atrium presents is you are a trustworthy touch point for brands, creators, and individuals.
Right.
And that, again, is something that's rare. A consumer can trust coming to you and believing the quality is great.
Yeah.
Seamless, on time, in budget. A creator comes and knows that it is a trustless process that ensures they're paid. Right. They don't have to worry about, am I going to get something?
Right.
They have creative freedom, clear expectations, clear boundaries, so they get to pursue their best work. Yeah. Outcome, best possible product.
Right.
Brands, wow, I wonder how much that costs. Well, we have clear and transparent pricing.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you are a Web2 brand who has a marketing budget, let's say your marketing budget is $400,000 a year, which, let's be honest, for a large Web2 company is not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
Do you know what I could make for $400,000 and how consistently I could put out like an incredible content on behalf of that brand? How does that pressure other brands in Web2? How does that infiltrate adoption? Not because you're talking about NFTs, you're talking about the power of a decentralized company like Yuga, which is 100% work from home, decentralized environment. Mm-hmm. It's not about can you bring people together in a physical place. It's can you create what is easy to create in a physical place in a virtual environment for people to thrive. And it doesn't mean that like you can't have it in both ways. It's just like you got to get the right people in the right places to do so. And I think that's what we've spent a lot of time curating at Atrium, and we're seeing the outcome in things like Nouns Movie. Yeah, which is super fun.
Let's double down and double click on Atrium as a whole. So if someone goes to your site, they're going to see a list of artists. So can you kind of take us through what is the process of, artists being a part of Atrium? And I'll show a video here in a second of if I want to get a derivative work done of a project that I have, how does that whole process line up? Like, where is Atrium in this line of thought for person A trying to create something? And also, if I'm an artist and I'm like, hey, I need a place, I want an outlet that I can really like flex my muscle, my creative juice. How could I get linked in with Atrium potentially?
So first question is, what does that workflow look like? And I think what we've really tried to do is simply say, wherever you are in your creative process, you can start with us. So if you have nothing and you're like, I need a character sketch, like help.
Yeah.
You can go on the site, you can click on an auction and click buy, right? And right then you have someone who's doing character design work for you.
Right.
Your next question might be, how do I build a story? We have writers that you can select. Hop in a channel, we'll talk with you, we'll identify what are your goals and wants, what are your expectations for what you're looking to achieve. You already know what the price is at that point. You like, it's clear, it's right there on the website. And then you get your output in a clear frame of time. Now, ideally, our goal is to help you feel like you can continue to do more and help you feel that there is always more for you to accomplish if you want to, because there really isn't a cap for animation quality, right? Like, it's one of those things where like, the more you spend, it will always look better. That's why there are $230 million movies.
Right.
But I think for a lot of people, there's a point of diminishing returns on quality and where story can captivate and really bridge that gap.
Sure.
And what we see here is the opportunity for anyone with internet access to have the opportunity to work with Disney, Pixar, and Marvel animators, script writers, Hollywood professionals, sound engineers, and produce an incredible quality. And I don't think we're really seeing the real impact of those things just yet, right? That to me is what early means. It's that you have opportunities to participate in something that not everyone will have later on.
No, I love that. So we're taking a look a little bit at the website. You've got a bunch of dope artists that I've admired for a long time. Specifically, one of my favorites is the 3D print guy. I just got to say it. Like, I've always really enjoyed.
So 3D print guy, one of the things that's kind of weird about animation is he is a 3D generalist.
Okay.
And like generalist sounds like it's not this powerful thing.
Yeah.
But basically it means that he's incredible and can do everything.
Okay. Yeah.
It's actually really rare to find someone that can do all the different parts. You have modeling, sculpting, texturing, rigging, animating, music, sound effects.
Right.
He can do all of that.
Wow.
And because he's been doing it for 20 years, he has a just deck of objects and environments that he can pull from and customize.
Sure. Yeah.
Of 20 years of work.
Right.
So you can be like, I want a city. What kind of city do you want?
I got a bunch. What do you need? No, I love that. And so, you talk about the process and the video that y'all have here. I'm going to pull it up full screen. I thought it was wonderful because it's easy to understand. It's straightforward and it's creative. And so like for a creative person like myself, why would you not have such a dope, amazing video on a creative website? So here you go. Let's take a look at it and then you can break it down a little bit further. Man, love it.
I love it.
So obviously you talked a little bit about that. So if Phil is going and saying, you know what, I want this derivative work. I've got this, maybe a slight animation that I want done with my Bored Ape. I can go to Atrium and I can start the bidding process. Is that always live? That's my first question.
It can be depending on how the artist sets up their page. We have a buy now feature for
Okay.
some of them. You can just click it if they're available. However, if it's depending on demand of what that artist is going on, if someone's potentially looking to experience or identify what is my evolving like price of my work,
Right.
an auction can help you identify demand.
Sure.
The other thing is that it's on chain at that point. You
Yeah.
can see how it evolves. So if someone were to go off and branch out of their own as their artist, they have clear price points where they can reference and show portfolio work.
Right.
So that's that other thing we talked a little bit earlier, where it's not just about for the person that's able to buy, but it's for the person that's able to
Sure.
produce. Right? It works both ways. But yeah, like the idea is you can click buy, you bid against other people, or it's just yours.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you've decided you want to create something, how it happens is just a matter of time.
Sure.
I think the real process in Atrium that you see there is it isn't just, hey, you took my money and now I'm going to get this thing later. It's you get to experience that process.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I was literally just going to double down on that. That's the process of the creation for sure.
Because if you do a commission just normally, probably through DMs.
Yep.
It's full trust me bro status.
Literally.
Like straight up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not really participating with them. And if you've never done a commission before, you may not know the right questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You may feel uncomfortable asking questions. You're like, I don't want to piss off the artist.
Right.
Like those are very real things. And I think what you don't see in that video is the encouragement and the leading that goes through that process to make sure the person does feel comfortable in those things. Because it's not good for us if someone leaves working with Atrium being like, yeah, that experience sucked. Like,
yeah,
no.
Right.
The only outcome we want is someone being like, I need to do that more.
Right.
Like that.
How do I start this process again, please?
Exactly. Because just personally speaking, I think creating something changes you.
Yeah.
Right. Like you are a different person than you were before Board Media.
100%.
100%. Right.
Yeah.
Like 100%. You are a different person.
For sure.
And it's because you made something.
Right. No, it's true.
And I want more people to have that at a large scale. Because the bigger the thing you create, the bigger the change.
True. 100% on that too. Yeah.
And I think one thing that I've learned a lot just in crypto in this space is it's taught me to dream a lot bigger than I would have before.
Sure.
Right. Like why couldn't Board Media Group be an LLC?
Yeah.
Right. Like why can't you be a media group? Why not?
Yep. 100%, dude. Like we're down that path now. I officially registered us, side note, I don't know, a few weeks ago. And that was like, that felt pretty freaking dope to go through that process. I know it's nothing crazy, but to me it was, like you said, it was creation, like legitimately creation of a business, which is still creating something. And like the finalized, like, okay, we got this thing, now let's roll. Like, I don't know. Once you create something, you want to do more with it, typically, right? Because you see the process, you enjoy the process. Like you said, it changes you. And then you say, what's next? Like, how else can I take this to the next level? And that might be obviously the artist too. Yeah. Yeah, right. Sure.
Like, that's the other thing.
Sure.
Like, you just be like, well, that definitely didn't work.
Yeah.
Not doing that again.
Never again. Yeah.
Like it's okay to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. Just
for sure.
Figure out why. And
yeah.
You can do more from there. Like I've gotten a whole bunch of stuff wrong in my life.
100%. You got to have a few mistakes. Otherwise, you're not getting better anyway. So Atrium has gone through some DAO processes, I'll say, and two very maybe different experiences. I don't know. Obviously, you guys went through the ApeCoin DAO. You also are doing the Nouns Movie, which congratulations again. I think you just announced part 2 is ready to rock too, or I think.
And So part 2 just went through last week, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
literally today, we announced the casting call for
Oh yeah,
any
I saw that.
CC0 assets.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
if you don't know, people listening in, now until the 24th of July, you can submit any CC0 asset to the type form on the Nouns Movie Twitter. Just click on it. You'll just upload a picture. You can do an AI generation if you want. But that means
Right.
like moonbirds,
Yeah,
MFers, Goblin Town,
yeah,
X copy, nouns, little like all of it
yeah.
has a chance to actually get in to this next segment of Nouns Movie. So again, you think about like cultural significance.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Like you could be a feature in the first animated film funded by a DAO.
Right.
Like that's provenance. That's history. Like those are the things that we're actually trying to create. I think when we talk about like the lofty goals of what we're building here, and that's what's happening now. And that doesn't cost money, right? That's free. I know everything we talked about before is like you got to pay for it. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Nouns already paid for it, so now everyone else gets to benefit a little bit. That's kind of the way the proliferation works, right?
Right.
How do you get inspired by that process? But to your question, before I just like bull rushed into the
No, and that
casting
was great because I saw it as well, and I wanted to make sure, and I'll link it in this episode too. That make sure you check that out and get your assets in, because why not? Like that's freaking dope. I love it.
like why not?
Yeah.
Why not? But to answer your question, around which I totally forgot what it was at this point.
Basically, the different experiences that you
DAOs.
had and the DAOs, yeah, the process of ApeCoin DAO, and then obviously Nouns DAO, and pushing through and getting the Nouns movie approved.
I think comparing the two, and I personally make a lot of comparisons too.
Mhm.
Nouns is streamlined.
Sure,
Like it's a 2 week process.
Sure. Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. 2 weeks, good to go. And then you have your money and you start building.
Mhm.
But they've already agreed to spend that money.
Sure.
That's the key difference. It's not that they're trying to figure out how to spend the money. It's not they're trying to figure out what is this goal of spending the money, not around like how do we make sure we're doing, like they've already decided what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
And that's proliferate. So I think that in itself is inherently a desire to spend and create, which isn't the same setup that ApeCoin has.
Sure, I agree.
And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that ApeCoin is wrong. It doesn't mean that Nouns is right. It means that they're different.
Mhm.
But I know that you and I have talked about this, like, how do we get into this yes and mentality? And I think that's the difference. Nouns has 50 million. Okay. ApeCoin has a lot more than that. So if they see something working, why not have that and then do both? Right? Like, why not both? The meme, why not both?
Yeah.
Now, do I think ApeCoin has an ability to influence like generational cultural change in a way that Nouns doesn't? I do think that.
Mhm.
And that is because of the amount of money.
Sure.
Let's be honest,
Yeah.
money can do a lot.
Yep.
I've been thinking about like Uber a lot recently. Uber stock going up.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know if they're profitable yet. Are they finally profitable? I think they're still losing money.
I don't know. Yeah, probably.
But when Uber first started, they literally just gave out ride cards for free.
Yeah.
They were burning money just so people would know about them and learn to not be able to live without them.
Right.
I think that's what Nouns has done with creators in
Sure.
showing a place where you don't want to live without us. You want to perpetuate this because we give back to you and you give back to us.
Right.
I think there's a way to build some of that into what ApeCoin is doing that allows it to be more streamlined. And then also have a lot of this governance structural process that a lot of people think is boring, that actually can have a really big impact on public good. Like apathy in general around governance and structure is a big issue worldwide.
Yeah.
Being able to test strategies that could actually impact global change. Like we don't really talk about that as a possibility of what we're doing in a DAO, but it's test for a new way to govern and accomplish.
Yeah.
Like
a very different way for sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's hard because no one knows what they're doing. It's hard because you're not always going to agree, and then it's hard to get something accomplished at that point.
Hmm.
I think what's happening right now with DAOs is, again, it's not that one's better than another. It's that people are identifying where they feel like they can get what is passionate and important to them accomplished. And that's where they're going to spend their time.
Sure.
And there's going to be a different group of people in all those different places. Again, I think the thing that's different about ApeCoin is there's an opportunity where it's all inclusive and encompassing.
Right.
And maybe that's 3 years from now. Maybe that's 5 years now. Maybe it's 6 months from now because there was a wild shift. You never know. And I think like that possibility is what was exciting for everyone that's still here. Is something else could happen and you could be part of it. Again, possibility. Like that's the exciting part about it.
That's I think that's our key word here on this amazing talk tonight is just possibility, because that's exactly what crypto and Web3 has shown me and you and really anyone that's been here for any substantial amount of time. So as we kind of wrap the conversation, Anaroth, I want to talk more about the Nouns movie. Obviously exciting. Obviously, we just talked about casting call for part 2, but like, I guess, you got approved from Nouns DAO, and that was awesome. And then what was it from that point to let's make a movie? Was it basically we're rolling, or what was the process of that?
So I would definitely recommend if you don't follow Zendout and HKJ, the creative directors, take a look at follow them, go look at their tweets. They've done a really good job at kind of demonstrating like what they're actually accomplishing. Once they got funded, that's when we started the process. So that means script, character development, hiring the team, sourcing talent, developing characters, rigging the models, doing the animatic, getting the musical score, doing sound effects, doing casting, doing voice call, all that other stuff.
Right.
0 to 90 days, 4 minutes of video.
Yeah.
That's crazy fast.
Yeah.
This next part, 100 more days, you're going to get 8 minutes of content. So basically you're saying in 200 days, you're going to end with 15 to 20 minutes of content. And again, it'll start getting exponentially faster the longer you get there. That's how we get to 80 minutes.
Sure.
But even 15 minutes of content in 200 days is more content than pretty much all of Web3 is produced in a year and a half.
Right.
And there's still possibility for more.
Right.
And that's what's really exciting about all of this possibility. So we've seen what they've been able to accomplish. It's all been done in Unreal Engine 5. And part of the reason that they're doing it in Unreal Engine 5 is it actually allows you to render in real time. So normally you go through, you render, you have to wait for it to go through and then see the output to see if you want to do it or not.
Okay.
But if you can change it in real time,
right.
Nope. Yep. And think about all the time you just saved by being able to do that.
Sure.
They've also created a custom filter that allows the look that's creating that feels very reminiscent to that like Spider-Verse Borderlands thing.
Yeah.
But again, think about that. Like these directors have now created their own film type, their own look, like their own design. That wouldn't have been possible.
No.
When you worked for a studio.
No, absolutely not. No.
Like
that would have been unheard of. Throw you out with the baby in the bathwater, straight out. No, I love that. Obviously, if you don't know about the Nouns movie, you should. You can follow the official Twitter account. It's just literally at Nouns movie to get more information there. And obviously, you need to follow Atrium, which is at Atrium NFT. And of course, Anaroth. I'll link all of these Twitter profiles in this episode so that you can connect and say hi to Anaroth. He's a splendid individual, and I would consider you a very good friend in the space. So before we say good night for the evening, I've got a really pressing question: is what kind of plant is your favorite type of plant?
You know, the plant that has thrived is actually my money tree.
Really? That's hilarious.
My money tree is
that's so funny.
Is like, damn, it's a happy tree. But my favorite is my lemon tree. So I actually have a lemon tree in my house.
That's nice.
It has like 11 lemons on it right now that I'm waiting to actually get ripe.
Right.
But it's just one of those things that's just, it's hung in there, man. Like it's been through it. I thought it died like 4 times. It's like, nah, I'm good. Don't worry about me. I got
It's
this.
risen from the dead again.
Yeah. So he's the homie.
I'm a plant person too. Why plants? Like, what is it about plants for you?
It was definitely one of those pandemic things. I never
Sure.
had plants at all until pandemic. And for me, it just became like a ritual to take care of something like other than myself.
Sure.
Like in the morning, coffee, plants, music.
Right.
Like that's pretty much like the first 30 minutes of my day. Listen, I don't have kids, right? Like I know I can do that because that is the case.
Sure.
But that ritual, that like time for you thing, plants have just become part of that. And now I can't really see it not being a part of that. Like I just enjoy it. It does suck when you move though.
Yes.
Like straight up. Like,
yes. That's a lot of extra work and care to move those plants. But no, we love the plants in my household as well. To me, it just the vibes are immaculate with plants. It makes everything just feel better, honestly, in the home. In my
100%.
It's just so much better. And again, like we talked about the entire evening in this conversation, is possibilities also make the world better too, and creative energy makes the world better. So I just want to say thank you, Anaroth, for coming through. I know we obviously talk quite a bit in the DMs, but it's great to have this open conversation and learn a little bit more about you, Atrium, and the Nouns DAO, and of course plants. So thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir.